unbelievable win.
I'm very pleased with our performance today. We worked real hard in practice, and it paid off.
Did you have any in your wildest dreams you'd win by 46 points today?
We knew that we could do the job successfully, and we did it.
All right, thinking ahead to next week, Eric, your thoughts going into the big one?
Well, I'm looking forward to it because we lost last year, and I'm just looking forward to it.
Eric, great season, and good luck next week.
All right,
Eric Hunter.
Eric had 5 out of 8 pass completions for 104 yards rushing, 144 to 86. Passing yards, 209
and there's
yards.
Dwayne Murphy right in the middle of number 43. Got 2 minutes, AJ.
209 yards pass.
Shot of him walking out onto the field, and we'll be able to hear the mic.
Hopefully it'll be better than the reception you're getting at the moment.
Captain Target said, I'd like you to be Captain Wilson, Captain Hunter.
The officials for you today. I said I'm Mr. McCuller, Mick McCuller, your referee. I got Mr. Clemencic as my umpire, Mr. Chisman as my linesman, Mr. Sparrow as back judge, and Mr. Roby is my line judge. Okay, let's go into the coin toss. We've had it prior to the to right now, and Hampton has won the toss and deferred to the second half. So let me tell the stands. Hampton won the toss.
Hyman at the bottom of your screen. Hunter fakes and will throw. Has plenty of time. Throws for Monday down the sidelines.
Before there was a Ronald Curry, Allen Iverson, Tyrod Taylor, Mike Vick, and Aaron Brooks. It was Eric Hunter, 230-pound QB, and this is the story.
All right, AJ, we got some final stats here as you look.
We'll try to get Eric.
Yeah, try to get Eric Hunter and maybe Tony Hyman. Yeah, we got about 3 minutes worth of tape left. In fact, I guess we could probably go to a tape change if we need to. There you see the Eastern Regional Trophy, something that's... And it's still first down, but it's first down and 18 as the holding call was assessed from the point of the infraction. In the end zone, Hyman's open, touchdown!
Tim, there is no...
Members, the Hampton players are Kenny Owens, number 2, Eric Hunter, number 9, and number 75, excuse me, is James Wilson for first goal.
This turnover.
2 fumbles and an interception. Hunter again gets pressure. He's got a lot of running room. The big 6'5" senior is taken down at the 24-yard line. A big first down for the Crabbers.
And Tim, that was just like a quarter. Not at this point in the season.
Not the 11th game of your season. Not when you're 10-0. Hunter wants to pass. He gets it away, and it's caught at the 20 play this year. And I have absolutely nothing but congratulations for them. Okay, back to the live action. 44 seconds. Hunter wants to pass. Throws downfield for... Is that Monday? Monday, 1-yard line. Oh, we're going to see the replay again. The Murphy's run. Now, this is the one that set up. This is that 30-yard run earlier. Eric Hunter. Getting back to what I was going to do.
Something in the end zone, and there's a good shot of Eric Hunter, Tim.
He has been everything as far as the Hampton fans are concerned and the Peninsula District. That is the end of the third quarter. And our score after 3 quarters of play from Todd Stadium, the Hampton Crabbers 26.
Eric Hunter was born to the late Edgar Wardrell Hunter Jr. and the late Teresa Irene Walker. Eric grew up in the housing projects of Sweetbriar and Brittany in Hampton, Virginia, along with his sister Yvonne and Felicia Hunter.
Okay, this is in reference to Eric Hunter. I played with Eric Hunter. My senior year was 1986-87 season. We ended up winning the state championship, and I think subsequently, after I graduated, he won another one. But Eric was a quarterback as well as I played quarterback, so him and I, we spent a lot of time together on the field. We would throw together. We would go back and assess plays together. One thing about Eric, he was an exceptional athlete. Had a cannon for an arm. He was fast. He was tall. He was strong, and he was a competitor. I know a couple of times when he first came out there, you know, he was a real skinny, scrawny kid, but he was tall and lanky. The mindset of Randall Cunningham at the time, he had a long throwing motion, but he would get it there and with such velocity. It got to the point where after he started, you know, realizing his strength and throwing the ball, I wouldn't catch with him anymore. My hands would hurt, so I couldn't do that. To be honest with you, I really thought that at that time, you know, Eric was probably going to take my position, but he was still coming up from JV, and although I had been there a couple of years, so I had a little bit more experience. So thank goodness for that. But he ended up having a successful, tremendous career at Hampton High School, and then, you know, leaving Hampton High and then going on to doing greater things in college. I will say, you know, the latter part of when Eric came home, I would see him time to time and we would talk. He always kept to himself when he came home, but pretty much other than that, you know, high school was such a great time for me, just experiencing, you know, his talent and his level of just competitiveness. Him and I would play, you know, quarterback games, and I used to find myself trying to, you know, keep tallies of when I beat him because it was few and far between. We would play, you know, quarterback games and see who could, you know, hit the corner of the pylon. We run a 7 route, and who would place it there, or who had the best, you know, spiral during practices. So him and I would just compete, you know, along those lines. He was a great competitor as well as I. So, you know, that right there, you know, took it to, you know, another level. I will say Eric was a great friend. He had some guys that he hung out with, you know, during those times. You would come up and you would hang out with your class. You know, you played rec league together. All those guys came up from rec league, and then you played JV, and then you played varsity. So him and his teammates and our teammates in his class, they hung together real tough, and that right there was the camaraderie that, you know, Hampton High would always have, and that's why we became, you know, legendary, you know, here in the city of Hampton, with you know, winning state championships. I will say, you know, he blossomed into a leader. And he led by way of example on the field. He would leave everything on the field. If it was something that needs to be done, he would do it. He would want to play every position on the field too. It was cornerback, safety, but coach wouldn't let him play. He would always leave him at quarterback. It was just some fun times with that guy. He is missed. He will be missed, and I will say he is a legend at Hampton High. I will say, you know, Hampton High has had some great quarterbacks come through. Marcus Hagan, Tyrod Taylor, Ron Curry. Just to name, you know, a few. You have, you know, Marco Stacy. A lot of great quarterbacks have come through. Just a lot of great players. But I will say, you know, Eric in my era and what I've seen, and I've been, you know, a Hampton High enthusiast since the 70s when my sisters and my sisters went to Hampton High School, going to the games in the early 70s and seeing Hampton High, just coming up, with that, wanting to play for Hampton High. I will say that, personally for me, he is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play at Hampton High School, my opinion.
Yeah, friend of Eric Hunter's. My name is Todd Summers. I grew up with Rick. We call him Rick. I grew up with him from childhood. I would say second grade on. I met Rick in the neighborhood around my grandmother. We started off playing baseball in the same baseball league, Mallory, Little League Baseball. And Rick always been a nice-sized kid. Grew up to be 6'5", pretty big, and always pretty aggressive, I would say. He liked to win, you know what I mean? But Rick was serious about winning. I lived in the neighborhood. We lived in the same neighborhood together, same apartment complex together when we was teenagers, early teen, probably 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, around that age, 13, 14. And even back then, Rick wanted to win so much that we used to play football every day when we came home from school, or on the weekends. We would play tag football in the street, sometimes in the field, in the back of the apartments we would play. But Rick always wanted to be the all-time quarterback. I mean, and if he couldn't be the all-time quarterback, he'd take the ball, want to fight, you know what I mean? But he wanted to be the all-time quarterback, so a lot of times we pretty much ain't want to go through the stuff we were going to have to go through with Rick, you know what I mean? So we'll go ahead and let him be the all-time quarterback, even if he come out there late and we already playing, we'll go ahead and let him be the all-time quarterback. And he threw that ball. Coming up with Rick, playing high school football with him, playing little league baseball with him. He always had a great arm. I don't even know what you call it. Bazooka. Rifle. That joke was stronger than a rifle, though. I coached Ronald Curry, Coach Tyrod. Them guys that had the arm that Eric Hunter had. They had nowhere near the arm he had. That joke would hold the ball, put a thumbprint in the ball. And he threw it. He was accurate. He could throw it in there nice and hard. And I think early on he used to throw all his balls up in there nice and hard before he learned how to put a little touch on it. I throw a pass rather than just throw the ball. He used to gun everything in there. But Rick was a great athlete, and he was a good guy. Great athlete. I just wish sometimes he didn't go to Purdue, because I felt like going up there to Purdue by itself, and I just think that Purdue wasn't pretty much. I think the coaching staff that wanted him there at first, I think they had a coach out there, Coach Jackson, that wanted him there at first. I think they was pretty good and took care of him, but that first staff left. And he really didn't get along with that second staff. And I talked to him several times about that. And he didn't really get along with the new coaches that came in. And, he went through a lot of stuff with them. And I think he told me about the time he had hurt his arm when he was like a senior or going into his senior year, and they wanted him to sit out or whatever, but he wanted to keep playing. They ended up playing him, but for some reason he didn't get along with the new coaching staff he had. There's a lot I can say about Rick, but I don't know really what to talk about with him. I just wish that whatever he went through at the end of his time at Purdue, I just wish that he had somebody there to go through it with him, or I think it's sad what he went through. He was a great guy. I just think he was left out on the island with nobody to walk with him. And then he probably had a mindset coming from here Now it's a little different in a lot of places, you know, his background. And Rick was a beast. You know, we was taught coming up in high school to be beast masters. And he was a beast, without question. He was a beast. He didn't mind running the ball. Rick didn't mind hitting. I think Rick pretty much would have been our starting safety if the coach, I think Coach Smith thought he was gonna kill himself if he stayed at safety. So I think he just made him play, just let him play quarterback and kept him off the defensive side of the ball because Rick would try to run through you. So I wish y'all could see some film of him, see him play a little bit. He was a great athlete, great guy too, great guy.
Here we have Tony Hyman, former Hampton High alum and teammate of Eric Hunter. I know we have a limited amount of time, so let's get right into it.
Sure.
Who was Eric Hunter?
Man, Eric was a great leader, probably one of the greatest quarterback that's ever come out of the Peninsula District. At the time when we played in the late 80s, he was a prototypical type quarterback, had the height and the size to match it, had the arms, could make every throw. Eric was a great leader, a great teammate, just a really good guy. And he led us to, 2 state championships during our tenure there.
When did you first meet Eric?
So I first met Eric in the 9th grade. We went out for JV and we played JV ball together, and we both made varsity our sophomore year, and we would go down and play on Saturdays and play JV football together. And so probably our freshman sophomore year is the first time that I met him.
Talk to me about Eric's leadership.
So Eric was a great leader on the football field. Eric was ferocious on the football field. Even as a quarterback, he played much like a linebacker played. He was a mean dude on the field. But I mean, when you're talking about keeping your teammates accountable, holding us accountable, and being where you're supposed to be, practicing hard, playing hard, he was one of the best leaders that we had on our team.
Can you think back to your favorite game with Eric?
So, Eric and our relationship kinda is one of those relationships where without the other, we don't have the production individually. And so, I owe a lot of my success on the football field to Eric, and probably a lot of my success of being able to earn a scholarship to go to Howard University to Eric. Eric and I had plenty of games that we did well together, but probably 2 games that sticks out in my mind is our senior year we played Warwick High School. I had 10 catches in that game for about 180 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then in our playoff game, my senior year against First Colonial, I had 4 catches for about 200 and something yards and 3 touchdowns. And we really dominated those games. And I think, during those games is when, him and I really became, there used to be a cheerleader who would draw this cheer up before every game, and it would be a picture of him, and he wore number 9 and I wore number 1, and she would draw 2 football players and draw the number 9 and then draw the number 1 on the other one, and she would say a perfect 10. And so Eric and I on the football field, there were games when we were perfect.
Talk to me a little bit about mental health.
So, mental health issues is especially big today with, so many people coming out now with mental health issues, and, it's always been there. I think the problem is that in our community, our kids are never diagnosed with mental health. And, whether it's from our economic backgrounds that we come from, where either we don't
go to doctors or psychologists.
He was, 6'4", long, athletic. Prior to me actually meeting him, he had come on a visit. Well, that was the first meeting. He came on a recruiting visit, and he just was energetic, man. Long. He looked like a prototypical NFL quarterback at that time. I would say around, maybe 2000, 2001. Because you run into guys and then you talk to guys and then you start talking about guys and you're like, hey, whatever happened to this guy? And then, that's probably one of the first times when I, talked to one of the fellow former football players, and we got to talking about people. And, they had told me about some incidents that happened probably the year after I left. And, he had gotten in some trouble, some allegations or some things that happened with a young lady. So that's probably the first time I heard about, some of the things that was probably going on in his life or had gone on in his life. But didn't really hear about how he was doing at the present moment. He had kind of fallen out of contact with everybody.
I think mental health is extremely important. I believe most things start in your mind. So if you're not healthy upstairs, it's going to come out in the physical as well. So what you're showing upstairs will eventually come out in the physical if you're not healthy.
What is mental health in today's society, in your opinion?
Very important. I think a lot of people don't have a good understanding of mental health. I think there's a problem now that kids need to be checked out early at a young age if they have a problem and they got to seek help. But people don't understand what they're seeking help. This is something that Coach K do. You got to be a skilled person, professional, look at a kid mental health side.
Got you. That's you really touched it right on the head. That's definitely important, and to elaborate on that even more. A lot of times, kids go through programs because they're gifted, and they just get pushed along because at some point, either the parents or in some cases even the coaches, just the community in general, feel they're going to be a pro athlete. So it's not really as important to deal with that issue right now, because they see the more of the pro side of it. They don't really see the downfall if the mental health is not taken care of, especially when it's young, when it's definitely young. Okay, well, good. So second question. Now, as a coach and a mentor, how do you approach athletes who might have a great opportunity to make it pro, but might show signs of mental illness, say such as a bipolar or something like that? How do you approach that? You see an issue, but you know that young woman, young man has an opportunity to go pro. How do you approach them, as far as their mental health is concerned, but you know they have a great opportunity to go pro as an athlete?
I think that sometimes you got to talk to the parents or the legal guardian. Sometimes people have to see psychological help from a professional doctor. And they really think the younger you get it, the better. And the first problem you have is getting the parent and the kids seeing that they need help.
Right.
Because you can't help nobody unless they think they need help.
True indeed. Okay, well, great. Well, you answered those two questions right on the head. Now, in your experience, without naming names, of course, has there ever been a time where you thought a kid has potential to make it pro, but needed their athletics was there, but the mentals was kind of slipping, and you kind of saw from a distance, hey, maybe by talking to a parent or the guardian that maybe they need to get some other things checked out, before they move forward, because as we talked about earlier, that's something that you want to catch early, because you don't want to wait till they get to a professional level and then they've been dealing with a mental illness, say, for the last 10 or 20 years, and they finally get to a point where it's kind of almost too late.
I think the biggest problem you have, people recognize that you have a problem. And then it's really too late because now the NBA look at how psychological tests they do with the kids now. That's the background. And the biggest problem is just people don't realize they want help. And you got to convince them the importance of getting help and seeking help. That's not a shame. Back when I first started, it was a shame to have a mental problem. Now if you can get a kid a bipolar problem early enough and understand the symptoms. Me as a coach don't have a great understanding, but you get professionals, they can do it a lot better than what we can do it.
That's very true, and not to even stereotype it, but a lot of times, especially unfortunately in the Black community, we don't, like you said, it's looked at as frowned upon.
You're right.
More so than looked at as, okay, well, you know, we can look at this from a religious standpoint, or we can look at it from a psychological standpoint. And unfortunately, in the Black community, a lot of times we come from deprived situations. We don't really have the resources to maybe talk to a doctor, and come from certain communities. If we are that one child in our family who has the opportunity probably to make it pro, we kind of push it aside because we don't want that to be a stigma going forward, and that may hurt our chances of making it pro, because you might have a team that says, well, we want to draft you, but we don't know what your mind's going to be like 5 years from now. And they don't take that risk on you, so we kind of push it aside because as a society, we don't have the resources, unlike maybe other groups that may have the resources to be able to take care of these things at a young age. I find it very interesting, you being who you are in your position for so many years, since 1982, you have, coached some of the greats, the Allen Iversons, the Alonzo Mournings, the Joe Smiths. A lot of these guys made it pro. All of them made it pro and had a great impact, not just in the Hampton, Virginia area, but around the world in general. You played such a big part in that. Could you tell me a little bit about how you as a coach and a mentor and a father figure to a lot of us, how did you deal with situations with athletes where they may have been going through some things, but to them you was more than just a coach. You was more than just Coach Boo Williams. You was like a father figure. How did you take them in and coach them along to make sure they made it pro and kept their mind right at the same time?
I think sometimes coaches got to understand that relationship is very important. I think it's not about winning and losing basketball games. It's about the game of life. And a lot of times coaches don't understand that. Older coaches do, and then we got to get the younger coaches to understand it's about the game of life. It's not about what you do for a player now, or what you do for a player in his lifetime. And so, and like I said, back in the, I like to say old days,
yeah.
people didn't understand mental health problems. They don't understand the mental problems that kids go through, or being a bipolar, or psychological problem that a kid will go through, or what their kid is dealing with. They just say the kid is crazy and keep going on, but they need help. And like I said, we keep saying, the earlier you can solve the problem, the better you can solve the problem. Once it gets too late, it's too late. It's become much more difficult to solve the problem.
That's true. I agree with you 100%, especially, with the way society is now, with social media, things spread so quickly. You do one thing on the internet that's quote unquote crazy, the whole world will know about it.
Yeah, know about it quickly.
Exactly. 5 years later, you could be the best dunker in the world, but if you lose your mind and chase somebody around the neighborhood with a knife or a gun, your whole career is over with.
Okay.
Your whole career is over with. So that's definitely, you definitely touched on everything that we needed to talk about. And definitely I appreciate the quick interview, but it was great, it was informative, and we definitely appreciate it. Thank you for Coach Boo Williams for sitting down with me today. We appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Hello, beautiful people. My name is Celeste, and I'm a therapist. I actually go by Celeste the Therapist, and I'm a therapist in Boston. And I just kind of wanted to talk about mental health and how it plays a role in our lives. Mental health literally controls everything that we do. When we're not okay up here in our head, a lot of times that transfers in our decision making, our professional life, our family life, our physical health. And a lot of times people don't even realize it. I'm a therapist, right? And I remember when I was 19 years old, I was dealing with a stressful event of trying to get money back from this car company. And what happened was I ended up in the hospital because my oxygen level dropped. So I'm like, I'm sick. I know these people are going to tell me I got something because I'm sick. And so the next day they did all these tests and they came back and they said to me, your test came back normal. And I'm like, well, something's wrong. And they said, have you thought about seeing a therapist? Like, are you going through any stressful events? I just told you I was stressed, but at 19 years old, I was an adult. I did not make the connection that the struggles I was having in my personal life was affecting my physical health. And the reason why I tell that story to people because right now I'm so vocal about mental health. I'm so vocal about the stigma that exists. I know sometimes people think that I was born this way. People think that I've always had this mindset around my mental health, but I didn't have this mindset all the time. When they told me that I should see a therapist, I was highly offended and I ripped my IVs out of my arm and I left the hospital. And now, 2019 today, like I'm a therapist. And I really want you to understand that whatever you were told growing up, pray about it, or, things will change, just think it into existence. Understand that if you was having a heart attack, no one would say, just think the heart is going to get better. Or no one would say, just pray that this heart attack goes away. People will call 911, right? So what makes your mental health different from your physical health? There's really no difference. The only difference that I notice is that we don't pay attention to it. So I would challenge you, to start paying attention to your mental health, start paying attention to your thoughts, pay attention to the things that are affecting you in life, right? A lot of times we are so used to just keep going and we don't take time out to pause and understand like what's going on in our lives. So definitely start working on your mental health because you matter. And the only way change is going to happen when it comes to your mental health is if you start to take control over it. So thank you guys.
Greetings, family. My name is Harrell Mitchell. I am a state certified mental health professional. I've been working in mental health for 10 plus years. I work with juvenile sex offenders. I work with clients that were not guilty by reason of insanity. I worked in Eastern State Hospital. I worked at 2 community service boards, and I worked at 2 regional jails providing mental health services to individuals that are incarcerated that have mental health issues. I have did a lot of research on mental health and the statistics. One of the recent statistics show that 43.6 million Americans suffer with mental illness, and about 7.9 deal with mental illness as well as substance abuse. It is a growing thing going on in America right now, people dealing with mental health issues and not knowing what to do when these issues arise. One of the main things and one of the biggest advice I can give to individuals that are suffering with mental illness is to reach out, seek someone in your community, someone in your church, someone that you can talk to that you trust, and get professional mental health help from. One of the most recent things that I've learned that a lot of mental illness come from trauma, dealing with things that happened to you in your past. Anything that happened before today is considered your past, so something you might have dealt with last week that was very traumatic to you, that can cause mental health issues. I encourage you to reach out. There's people out here that really care and people out here that really want to provide support and help. Don't ever sit around and feel like no one is not there for you. Don't ever sit around and feel like you have no one to go to, because you do. This documentary is for a guy I met by the name of Eric Hunter. He was a famous football player. I was there in downtown Newport News on 19th Street doing mental health work, and I met Eric. We generally started talking about football, and then I asked him, how did he get to this point? Eric provided to me information that was, it was personal to him, and he provided it to me. He let me know that he was accused of something that happened in college that he didn't do, and he said this is the reason he lost it. He pretty much said he lost it. And, I told Eric that, well, right now he looks good. He's in a good state, and to continue to doing what he's doing to rehabilitate himself. He was a very nice young man, and I remember hearing his name briefly when I was young regarding football in the Hampton Roads area. He was a tremendous athlete in high school and in college. But something happened and it set Eric off, and he was to the point where he was. And he was a very nice young man, very likable, nice attitude, very friendly. And Eric was a person who did have mental health issues, but he was in a very good state. And unfortunately, things happened that I'm pretty sure that we all have heard about, and it was a pretty sad event. But Eric was he was a really good young man, and I worked with him just to encourage him, to help him to continue to stay on the right path. But it just didn't turn out that way. Just thank you for all your support that people have provided to Eric. And if you do need help regarding mental health issues, don't forget, you can reach out. There's people out here that will help. There's community resources. There's people all over that will provide assistance to you if you're suffering with some type of mental health or substance abuse issues. Thank you. God bless you, and have a great day.
Hello, everyone. 757, originally 804, the Peninsula District, the PD. This is Todd Kelly, originally from Hampton, Virginia. Graduated from Bethel High School, went there from 85 to 89. Went on to get a student athletic scholarship at the University of Tennessee from 89 to 92, and then played in the NFL. Was drafted in the first round by the San Francisco 49ers. The 27th pick. Actually played in the NFL from 93 to 97. It is my pleasure to talk about Eric Hunter. Rick Hunter is the one I know, though. I go and take him by Rick because that's who he was. He was Rick Hunter, number 9 for the Crab. And Rick was one of the most fierce competitors I've ever seen to come through the Peninsula District. Before there was a Allen Iverson, before there was a Ronald Curry, there was a Rick Hunter. And actually, Derek Kroom, who was also a legend over at the Crab, he was a starter my first couple years in high school, and then he graduated in '87, and Rick took over after he graduated. And Rick took over in a fierce role. He was very competitive. He would jump in people's face. He would really try to dominate the whole game. There was one time there was an article where he was throwing a football, and I saw a picture in the newspaper. You can actually see his thumbprint in the football. So it lets you know how tight of a grip he had and how strong of an arm he had. And he would actually throw 65, 70-yard bombs to Tony Hyman, and every Friday or Saturday. But what was awesome about Rick is, some highlights about him is me and him were roommates at the Virginia All-Star game, East-West All-Star game, and he hit me on the first pass from scrimmage when I was playing tight end, the very first play, and he almost put a hole in my chest. He also was my roommate as well when we played in the Senior Bowl with top players in 1993 all over the country. Rick wasn't even the starter in the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. He was the backup, and he won MVP. He was actually the MVP for the Senior Bowl and won a trip to the Caribbean. And then I know he went back to Purdue, and that's when things started to get dark. I don't know all the details about what happened with Rick, but I know he was never the same. And Rick Hunter, if anybody doesn't know and you're watching this video, I'm going to let you know is that he was one of the fierce competitors ever come to the PD. And if you didn't know Rick Hunter, he was the next Randall Cunningham. If you Google Randall Cunningham and look at his highlights, that was Rick Hunter. Rest in peace, number 9.
I had the opportunity to sit down with Eric's cousin Quan, his sister Yvonne, and Felicia. Quan talks about how confident Eric was going into the All-Star game.
And looked at all the quarterbacks was there, right? He's like, look, y'all just need to go ahead and give me that now. And everybody was looking at him like, who is you? What's wrong with you? And in history itself, he's like, y'all need to give me that now because I'm going to go ahead and win it. And they was looking at him like, who is this cocky dude right here? He was like, Big Quan. He said, you know I'm going to win it, right? I said, yeah, you going to get it. He said, yeah, because you going with me. So he ended up winning it, MVP, and we went to Virgin Island. That's cool.
Hampton High School was the place where most of these quarterbacks went to, and you had a person who I thought could have been and should have been in the Purdue cradle quarterbacks. And to this day, I still say that I don't know what it's going to take on my part to impress the selection committee at Purdue University that Eric Hunter should be in the cradle quarterback. Now, everybody would tell me, well, Leroy, you never saw Eric play, which is true. But to hear his teammates, guys he played with back in 89, 90, 91, when he was a freshman coming out of Hampton, that Eric Hunter was the real deal. Make no mistake about it. This kid had athletic ability. He was big. He had a strong arm. He had footwork. He had tangibles that a lot of the quarterbacks at Purdue today didn't have and will never have. But yet he's excluded from this cradle of quarterbacks. And I used to always want to know why. Well, was it because the coaches didn't understand how gifted this kid was? 6 games as a freshman and he is qualified as the Big Ten Freshman of the Year. You don't become a Big Ten Freshman of the Year at quarterback if you don't have skills. Eric Hunter had skills. Where you from, I don't think that should have made a difference because he did the job on the field of action. And I said, I really didn't need to see him play. I knew how he played. I saw it in the faces, I saw it in the voices and the mannerism of his teammates. Eric Hunter was truly one of the best quarterbacks to come through Purdue University for the short period of time that he was a quarterback. He had skills that no one could take away except a head coach. And quite obviously, he was recruited by Fred Akers, who made the wishbone famous with Earl Campbell down at the University of Texas. And when he came to Purdue University, I guess they felt like, well, we'll work wishbone, which Eric made very successful. But the new coach coming in, Jim Coletto, decided we're going to disband the wishbone and go to a T formation, power formation. And he said, Eric Hunter just don't fit my descriptive of what I want a quarterback. But I'm saying 6'4", over 200 pounds, got a cannon for an arm, just as quick, can change direction. The first coming of not even Doug Williams or Eldridge Dickey and some of the other great quarterbacks who were African Americans coming through at that time. But here's a kid who could get the job done and prove that he could get it done. And this coach decided, I can't utilize you in my scheme. And I think that began the downslide of Purdue football on a winning scale. Because here's a kid who's winning, and now you got a coach telling him, I can't use you. And you're sitting there going, is this real? You can't use Eric Hunter? Purdue could have gone undefeated several times, or at least vie for the Big Ten championship with Eric Hunter at quarterback, but this coach made this decision. And since that time, Purdue has had African-American quarterbacks in voice, but they've only played 2 in the last 25 years.
What about you, Miss Siobhan? What was your initial reaction when you heard about your brother's passing?
I was in shock because I just didn't want that to happen to my brother, but I deal with it one day at a time, and I know that one day I'll see my brother again.
Definitely.
So I think about it every single day. I think about my brother every day.
Yeah. What about you, Los? What was your initial?
Well, my initial reaction, my phone rang, Facebook went off, phone rang, and I'm like, gosh almighty, somebody called me this time of the night, something bad happened. So her friend had called me on Facebook and told me. Then Mark had called and told me. And I was like, wow. So and when they hit you, you know, you sleep, you be like, can't believe this. You know, your brain jumps up, but your body's still sitting there like, hold on, I can't move yet. You know, you have to try to move in your body that's still numb. And it was scary. I could honestly say it was scary.
Because you go through the, you know, first thing you want to, okay, you upset, then you get angry. Then you want to seek revenge, and you don't know who did it. So you just, wow, you know, it's just, then you come around and see the sisters, and they, wow, really, they lost the only male figure in their family. I mean, you feel their pain, then you sit like, damn, how this really gonna happen, you know? So you just try to just absorb all of the pain and just push it back out.
Okay. Now, in closing, what do you want society and whoever views this documentary, what do you want them to learn from the passing of Eric? All you guys can answer that question. First thing, incarceration never helps at all. If somebody has a mental illness, jail is the last place they should be. And medicine is really a secondary thing. Instead of locking them up, treat them. Ask them what the problems are they go through every day. Don't just say, okay, this guy's a thug and we're gonna lock him up. Because you see now all these people are dying in jail. Jail's not meant for everybody. You know, once you're in that little 6x9 cell, your brain goes through a million things. The first thing you want to do is get out of there. Then you think about, okay, if somebody mess with me, I'm going to stay here forever because I'm going to end up hurting them. I'm going to end up killing them. So therefore, you're going to lose all your freedom. So basically, when you lock somebody up with a mental illness, you should have somebody there to talk to them and not put them in a cell. Treat them as a comfortable person so their mind can be at ease. Because when your mind is angry, you become an angry person. As soon as you get out, your mind just shuts down because you don't know what's the reaction is going to tick you off anymore. You got a lot of triggers that's going to happen, and people say wrong word to you. Somebody say, how you doing? You might not be expecting, this person might want something from you. You know, so you got to balance your life back out because of your mental illness. Then they want to drug you up so you walk around looking like a zombie. So it won't work. The best way for the cure, I look at it, is talking to someone. Go to a psychiatrist. If you're gonna lock me up, at least have me in a comfortable room, not in a cell. That way you can come in there and talk to me each day for my 45 minutes and feed me and give me the right things to get my mind cured along with my body cured. Because that's a combination.
You saying, wow, in jail, if all of those things, I believe if all of that was going on in jail, he probably a better, it probably would have turned out better for him because, I don't think he had a psychiatrist in jail, nobody to talk to. They just gave him his meds and sent him on his way. I mean, they even did that when he was out. That's all, when he did go to take his meds, which he only went once a month, and just sitting there talking to a psychiatrist. They just asked him a bunch of questions, and that was pretty much it. And you take a urine test. If that didn't come out right, the doctor going on about his business.
So it's really safe to say that overall the system and somewhat failed Eric, and not just Eric, but just in general, when we misplace people and put them in prison when they really need to be in maybe
some other type of help other than jail. Yeah.
Now, do y'all think this is more systematic with black individuals, African Americans, or is it everyone? I tend to believe it has a lot to do with African Americans in general.
Well, before they lock people up, it can be solved in a simple way. If you're going to pull a background, pull the entire background and see if these people have a mental illness. It's only 45 seconds long. Wait till the response to come before you put them in mass incarceration. Because once you put him into the system, now his mind go from being, I want to be safe, to then I want to defend myself. You can't do both if you want to treat yourself. Because as soon as you get angry, this guy, he came from a bad background of life. We're going to keep him in here. Don't know why. You just want to lock him up and throw away the key. What are you going to get out of this? And then you want him to come out of the system. You didn't reform him. You didn't teach nobody anything. You didn't give him anything to come out here and make themselves a better person. But yet you want to push him back out the door of society with a felony and then say, get a job. Now, who's going to hire you? But yet, you see all these people that's going to jail, got felonies, and you look at them on TV. Now, what is the difference between them and other people? They found some people that's going to believe in them. They found a system that's willing to help them. Whereas if you don't have anything, you can't get yourself out there to speak on it, so therefore nobody's going to talk about it. You know, Meek Mills is trying to bring all this stuff to light as well, you know, but it's not going to work. Black people get locked up for spitting in the street. Now you got white folks walking around with a camera. You can't cook out here. You can't have a party here. You can't freak your tire up here. You can't go in the store here. You can't eat here. You can't speak Spanish here. Come on, man. What do we have in society that's willing to help us? We came here along with damn white people way back when. Why the first president and the 45th president are on the same wave path? What happened? What happened to the world between 1776 and 2018 that nobody seems that we want to grow as people, but you think you're better than us?
Definitely. Now, what would you say, what would you want people to get out of this documentary, Ms. Siobhan? What do you want the world to see?
Well, if your child is playing football and they have a concussion, you should really get it checked out.
And I believe he should have had some kind of, some kind of, I just don't think the doctors here, they never looked into anything like that. When Rick came home, it wasn't nothing but medicine, no CAT scans, MRIs, or anything to check and see if the mental part was stemmed from something else, or where did all of this just come from? So I believe that if that could have happened, maybe we would know really what to call what we have now. Whatever it is, we'll know what to call it.
Besides CTE, but also run back. But back in the day, there wasn't no thing called concussion.
Right.
They break the stick, put it up under your nose, you get back in, or you sit on the bench. Now, if you stay on the sideline, somebody going in, they got your spot. Then now you got to wait to practice to come up to get your spot back.
Saying it was one game, he got hit real hard, and he was out for about a minute. And I said that could have been the concussion.
Said he didn't know where he was at.
Yeah.
He said that in the newspaper.
And I just felt like, well, if that happened, did they take him to the hospital after the game, or did he have that checked out? But no. And even when he came home, even getting into trouble, nobody really did anything. I think they looked at Rick more like a celebrity and just don't do that no more. And next month or so, he'll do it again. So then they have no choice but to lock him up. You get 18 months or something like that, and come home and do the, same thing. Most of the Rick charges, I guess, would be like trespassing. Just trespassing, being somewhere that he know and he don't go over there no more. He go right back, go do the same thing over and over. I just think a lot of that could have been avoided. Maybe I just feel like if his psychiatrist or his therapist might have checked into it a little bit more. Let me see what's going on inside your head, just to see. Knowing that he played football, or we could have a different outlook on it. Maybe they would have knew how to treat whatever it was that he had, except for giving him.
Meds to slow him down.
I think he was taking like tramadol or something. I can't think of it.
Tramadol is painful.
Oh no, I knew it
See,
started with a T.
they can't give you an excuse. Okay, our caseloads are so full. Okay, have a group session. Just like you're doing AA and NA. You can get 12 to 25 people in one circle and have them all vent. What's the problem with you? You're not going nowhere. If you're going to see them all, you can sit down for 2 hours and talk to each person.
So you think that the medication that Eric was on, he didn't really need medication. He just more so needed the package deal, meaning he needed everything and not just medication. He needed everything. He needed
someone to talk to. He needed his medicine, because I think he was hearing voices. But I know it could be times that he may go like 2 months without his medicine, and he'd be like, "Sis, I need to go take my medicine. I need it. I'm starting to hear things and stuff like that. So whenever I got the opportunity, I would take him to go get to his doctor's,
The syrup wheel, that was it. That was
No.
the syrup wheel?
Because he was taking medicine for anxiety. He was taking, I know one time the doctor had put him on medicine for depression. And she gave him like chores to do, like take out the trash, clean your room, things he had to do every day just to get him to, try to lift himself up. And but that didn't last too long, I guess.
The same way I did. Here we go with Eric Hunter.
With the winning quarterback, Eric Hunter.
All right, Eric, your thoughts? Big win for the Crabbers today.
Yeah, it was a very, very big win for us today. We ain't never beat them since our JV year, and so we came out here real psyched up, and we did it.
A little different than last year.
Yeah, a lot different.
What about this team? How far can it go, Eric?
I think we can go state, but we still got to work harder.
Here's a good shot of Eric Hunter, Tim.
He has been everything as far as the Hampton fans are concerned and the Peninsula District. That is the end of the third quarter. And our score after 3 quarters of play from Todd Stadium.
Well, there you have it. Number 9, the Eric Hunter documentary. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you all learned something. Eric Hunter, number 9. May you rest in peace.